masterminding this week. I believe is he back Friday? I believe back Friday here, but have no fear, Scott Morris is here, and one thing we've learned about this guy is he's built for broadcasting, and the man knows the mortgage business, the banking business, the finance business pretty darn well. A lot we're going to cover. The meeting with Powell coming up has got everybody
on pause.
Yeah, right? Is that fair? Yeah. Edge of their seat?
Yeah, I think they're just waiting to hear what these notes are going to be.
I mean, I'll certainly ask you what we can expect. We have a couple of charts we're going to put up that you featured prominently on your Facebook page yesterday, and we're going to talk. Happy birthday, Keith! Very much appreciate you. I believe he's watching in his mastermind class. But we're going to talk to lead the show habits. We're going to talk consistency and results.
Yeah, I think that's what those things in place drive us all to success.
I agree. It certainly worked well for our business. It certainly worked well for Scott's business. How long has your business been in operation?
5 years.
5 years. Good for you. Past that 3-year threshold. So much to cover. And 2021 was the best year of your business, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's 2020 and 2021 were both very, very
gangbusters, blessed. Right?
Yeah.
How's now I guess we're a week into January. How's January looking already?
January's really, really good. And even with some of the changes that we've seen in the markets over the last week, February is looking very, very promising as well.
So much to cover, guys. If you want to give Scott some props, if you want to ask some questions, the whole premise of spotlighting and featuring Mr. Scott Morris in this setting is to make difficult topics approachable and easy to understand. That's the entire game plan here. So much to cover on the show. We got some folks watching. We see on the heat map in Culpeper, in Short Pump, in Crozet, folks in Charlottesville, Louisa, and in Barbersville, guys. Put the questions in the feed, and we will relay them live on air here on Real Talk. J-Dubs, Judah Wickower, we are ready to rock and roll when you're ready. Good Tuesday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk here on a gorgeous day in Charlottesville in Central Virginia. A chilly day, but the sun is shining, and reason for optimism and reason to just love life. I think that's what we try to do every single day. Judah Wickower is our director. Scott Morris, a name and a face and a reputation and a degree of character that you're going to love and appreciate more and more on this network. Our guests, as Keith and Jonas Smith masterminding this week to charge their batteries for 2022. Judah Wickower, if we can go on the two-shot and welcome Scott Morris to the program. Que pasa? How are you, Scott?
Good morning. I'm amazing. Yeah, no, definitely a little cold out there, but nice and sunny, and just good to break through that snow that we had. Everybody's got power back on. We're really starting to, maybe this is feels more like the first of the year than the first of the year I felt with all that stuff that was going on.
Well said. I totally felt that way this morning and had that conversation with my wife. We kind of felt like this was January 1. So I noticed as you were coming in an Apple earbud in your ear. I take it you're a podcast and a content guy. What's streaming in the earbud?
Not streaming in the earbud. It is a drive and talk better than the Bluetooth in the car or truck sometimes tool, and talk to text and just communicating on as high of a level as I can with my team and partners and everybody involved. I do in the mornings hit when working out. It's usually It's usually audible more than a podcast. So that's probably one of my favorites most recently, and kind of one of the what I wanted to get on today was Atomic Habits, I think was a recent one. Or
let's go down that road.
The Power of Habit may have been that. I can't remember which one I've read most recently. But yeah, going into 2021, everybody's always got resolutions. I'm not a resolution person. I believe that if I want to make great change in my life, I can do it at any given day of the year. I can begin that. But it all begins with taking a new step and implementation. And whatever that implementation is, it needs to be consistent, and you need to create a habit out of it. Whether it be coming up with a new way to get more video content done, or more consistent phone calls to your partners, or business partners, or more conversations with your life partner. Whatever that is, creating some sort of step in your life to make it a habit, to make it consistent, because consistency increases results.
Amen. Habits you want to focus upon. Obviously, the brand is getting out there in ways that it hasn't perhaps in the past, and that's becoming a habit that I think is going to yield a lot of return on investment for you. Other habits you're looking to pursue?
I go back and forth throughout the year as like what kind of fitness level I'm going to be in, and that can, I've learned that having small children can throw you off track in trying to keep up with their schedules, or how their schedules, trying to keep them in a good schedule can derail yours, depending on what you're giving the most value to. And it's really about trying to find a balance. And sometimes that just means finding more hours in your day. And if that means getting up before everyone else in your house to create the time you need to read a book, to create a task list for your team, or exercise, whatever it is that you're trying to implement, you need to find the time, because nobody's going to find it for you.
Got questions coming in already for you?
Oh, all right.
If you have questions for Scott Morris of Ross Mortgage, put them in the feed. We're live across all social media platforms. The man makes content that's otherwise complicated, very approachable, and easy to understand. I mean, even if you're a casual follower of the news, or if you follow it closely like you do, I think the consumer and the marketplace is certainly seeing mortgage rates and headlines everywhere.
Well, it's funny what you see. You still see advertisements that run through Facebook for 1 point whatever, and a lender friend in Richmond said that she finally had enough and started signing up for this stuff, and what she got was like a pre-approval without any docs for $1 million, and then just all the bait and switch that happens as you travel down the rabbit hole, and that's what it is. I mean, it's literally an advertisement with an asterisk that has no bite behind it, and so you see that, and then you see mortgage rates have increased more in 5 days than they have in the last. They're at highs in the last 5 days than they have been in the last 2.5 years. So there's a lot of turbulence in the market. It's going to find its feet. But the news and where you're getting your news, I think, with anything, makes a big difference.
Scott Morris, guys, our guest. J-Dubs, let's get the charts ready to go. I thought what you did on social media late last week was, again, to your talents and skill of taking something complicated and making it easier to understand. First, why don't we start with, is it the 2020 chart? So this is sizzle reel waiting to happen. Scott Morris of Ross Mortgage. Talk to us about the 2020 chart first, and then we'll go to 2021.
So 2020, you see a long-term rise. That rise is in bond activity. So more bond purchases, more bond interest from investors, and the government created super low mortgage rates. So when you see that, what was that show from Price is Right with the mountain hiker going up the hill? That's what that looks like. And it's really showing a super strong projection for the whole year that kept mortgage rates very, very low.
2021 chart.
2021 chart is quite the opposite. It's a downward decline, and that downward decline, while not super steep, shows you that there was declining interest in bond activity from investors, and that shows you to tip of the year, and then what happened in the last week really accelerated that, is everyone knew the government was going to step off the gas at some point. And as that happened, mortgage rates ticked up a little bit, ticked up a little bit, ticked up a little bit, and then really spiked in the last week. And that's really given to the fact that inflation and the government taking away from bond activity, putting that in the hands of investors, is something that creates a higher risk environment. A higher risk environment is going to create higher interest rates. When you look at the U.S. 10-year Treasury and you're seeing greater yield, that means the bond demand itself is going down. When you look at Fannie and Freddie's stock and that is going down while yields are going up, that is a perfect storm for high mortgage interest rates.
All right, let's get 21 back on screen if you can, and let's continue the reel here, J-Dubs. Down here is not good.
Down here is not good. That's showing that the less bond interest creates higher rates. But we're still talking like lifetime low rates.
Right. That was my next point.
Where we're going. Like I don't say this to create like, oh my gosh, things are so bad. It's just that when you look at where things have been, you have to readjust reality as far as if you're a realtor and you've got people who are riding with pre-approvals who haven't checked in with a lender in the last 30 days, you should probably have them do that. If you can't get those lenders on the phone, get me on the phone. But bottom line is what someone's top pre-approval amount was 30 days ago isn't the case right now.
This came up yesterday on the show on Real Talk. What is your prediction of rising rates and how it will impact this market, and localize it to Culpeper, to Central Virginia, and here in the Commonwealth?
I think we're going to end up higher in rates than that were predicted earlier in the year. Inflation went higher faster than they expected. Rates will go higher faster than they expected. But we've got the Powell meeting that's coming on. The government doesn't want this thing to take off out of control. They're always going to be late to respond, but just because they're late to the party doesn't mean that there's not going to be a response.
Now, we need to emphasize this. Rates are not upticking faster or surpassing inflationary levels. And rates are not surpassing yearly rental increases.
Correct.
And the reason we emphasize this is because
it's still going to be cheaper to buy than it will be to rent.
Yeah.
That's when you look at rents are continuing to go up. There's no inventory to support people getting into these other properties, and part of rates going up in a way has to do with controlling that. I was listening to something the other day. This is like whoever's buying for Goldman, or I think it's actually some hedge fund at this point, and they used to work for Goldman in their properties division, and they want to see rates go up in order to slow down investment purchases to control in the long-term rental, the rise in rental rates.
That's a good spot right there to cut that reel. If you want to mark that time, J-Dubs. We were talking about this with agents yesterday. As rates uptick, purchasing power diminishes some. Now, it's important to stipulate rates are still, even if they uptick, at generational historical lows. Even if they go up a point, we're still talking sub 4, right? Flirting with 4?
Yeah, 4 and a quarter. We're still below where we were 4 years ago.
I mean, so it's still obscenely low.
Yeah.
Still obscenely low. Do you see the buyer pool diminish some, and does it have any impact in stabilizing price points? I learned yesterday on Real Talk, in the Central Virginia region, housing prices year over year, a 13.6% uptick.
Sure, because the more people you have qualified for higher prices, and a smaller demand, a smaller pool of inventory, you're going to have higher demand. So as you get fewer buyers qualified for higher price points, that's going to walk down that super steep incline in in price point.
Absolutely. So if you're looking to purchase, questions are coming in on the purchase, and I'll get to these questions here from Christopher. If you're looking to purchase now, the steps you suggest buyers take.
Get in touch with your realtor, get in touch with your lender, find out where you're actually qualified for and what you're comfortable with. Just because you're qualified for it doesn't mean that you want to take it to the tippy top. And also give yourself a little room to hedge to say, okay, if things get worse, what does that mean for me? So you've talked to your lender, you've been pre-approved, you've given all the documents, you've had a conversation that says, look, this is where I'm really comfortable being, and if I find something that I'm totally in love with, this is where I'm willing to go. And you've got those numbers ahead of you so that when it comes time for that perfect property, you can go out and make an offer and pull the trigger and get it done.
Christopher asks, does it make sense to buy points now with rates going up?
That's a decision that you have to make for your total. What does it look like for your situation? If you're a not perfect credit individual, you might have to pay points just to lock an interest rate. However, if paying points saves you $35 a month and you're not going to, and that doesn't make a huge impact to your life, is it worth paying the additional, paying those points to gain, to what, to just to say that you've got a lower rate? I mean, that's a decision. And again, this goes back to take the total number of months it's going to take to recoup that money and make the decision based off of that. So you take the money saved divided by the number, the monthly amount saved divided by the total amount, and that's going to give you the months it's going to take to recoup that money.
So basically you have to ask yourself how long you're going to stay in the home.
How long are you going to stay in the home? Is $50, $35, is whatever that money is worth it to you to shorten that cash, that real money that's in your bank account that you could use to put a set of tires on your car or deal with time away from work, any kind of actual real life event where that money is money that means something to you as opposed to trapping it in the purchase of a home.
You talk to, we follow the news, you follow it very closely. I follow it, not as close as you, but I follow it. Economists are saying anywhere from 4 to 8 hikes in rates this year.
So I think they've got, they had 3 that are priced in, that the market has accounted for. They're saying 4 is where they may end up, but they're also saying that they need to see how, as they implement these hikes, it's going to affect the economy. So we could get 3, we could get 5, but they want to see what it does to. They don't want to see a taper tantrum again. That's been made very clear.
Well, and do you. Now, Powell's on now. We have CNBC on here in the studio. The chop we're seeing in the market, and we're seeing a lot of chop to start January. And January is historically an indicator of how markets will do for the remainder of the year. Mm-hmm. So far we're, a handful of days into trading in 2022, and we've all seen a lot of chop. Is this chop associated with Jay Powell and the uncertainty with rates? I mean, we clearly see the NASDAQ and tech companies impacted big time by rates going up.
Yeah, but what's crazy about that is that we see all like this red on the screen from that. If you look historically when the Fed has made rate hikes, tech is what has outperformed. But everybody's, again, crying this time it's different. Is it because they're already over, their inflated pricing? Or is it so frothy that that's why tech is taking such a hard hit? Or is it just taking such a hard hit right now and by the end of the year, tech will still outperform? I mean, I think we're looking at this in too short of a window to honestly answer that question.
Do you see the demand for purchasing homes or folks jumping in the real estate game Q1, Q2 going bananas because of the uncertainty where rates will end up in Q3 and Q4?
People don't make those decisions based off of interest rates.
Okay, let's go down that road.
Are people going to stop having babies because interest rates are going up?
There we go.
Are people going to stop getting divorced because interest rates are going up? I mean, no.
People need a place to live.
People need a place to live. They are going to make lifestyle decisions based on what their wants and needs are, and then the market's going to drive what they can afford. So if rates go up and 80% of people their price point changes, then the price of the inventory will change along with it. It's supply and demand.
The TV's on mute right now. Jay Powell's on screen. What do you think Powell's saying right now?
The last banner that I saw that said they are going to act to take on inflation means that there's definitely going to be the rate hike in March. Like, if not, I can't see them doing it before that, but it's happening.
Right decision?
Yeah, I mean,
we have to do this, right?
It's too late. I mean,
right.
They should have done it in December.
So you're basically saying that this inflationary time we're doing is a direct result of Powell waiting too long.
It's a direct result of you pump so much straight cash in the economy,
devaluing the dollar.
You're going to get inflation. There's no mechanic around that stops it from happening.
Do you see realtors and your business having another banner year like this, last year?
So I think it depends on what you mean by banner. I think the sale side is going to be fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. Purchase is going to be great. The refinances are going to dramatically slow, but that was already forecast. Again, already priced in as far as what people were expecting.
Bill McChesney, welcome to the program. Christopher Eagle, hello and welcome to the show. Keith Smith watching the show. Happy birthday, Keith. You need a trusted advisor like Scott to do an ROI for you. Someone comes to you and says, look, I'm looking to purchase a home. What are the steps you do to get them to the finish line?
We're going to go through all your finances. We're going to talk about your budget. We're going to talk about what your max approval looks like. And for everybody, that's different. So somebody who has a side business and collects money that can't be used as mortgage income might be comfortable spending all of the money, whereas somebody else who goes, wow, that's my limit. I don't want to spend that much money. And then we get an idea of what is comfortable for them and create a pre-approval, and your realtor creates a search for you based on those numbers.
Do you are you seeing a lot of first-time home buyers coming across your desk, or is it predominantly people that are moving up or downsizing that have sizable equity chunks in their current homes, utilizing that chunk to either cash out or to climb the housing ladder?
Both.
You're seeing first times?
A ton of first-time home buyers.
Yeah.
I even had a conversation with someone this morning about a refinance that I said, look, your rate might go up, but your payment can go down if your sole intent is to just lower your obligation. A first-time home buyer or a second-time home buyer who is looking to take cash out of their first and use that for the down payment on their second and turn their existing property into a rental. And but yeah, first-time homebuyers, again, people still have lifestyle needs, and as they come of age and make babies and get married and get to the point where they need to get into a home and out of an apartment or want to make those changes, that's not going to go away.
Percentage of the business that's first-time home buyers versus folks that already own that are climbing up or downsizing?
Probably 60 to 70% first-time home buyer. I think we're still seeing a little bit of hesitancy from people who maybe got in at a low rate or are 2 or 3 years in. But at the same time, I'm seeing a lot of people who are 2 or 3 years in that are trying to capitalize on selling this house to step up to the next one.
You know what? I had the conversation yesterday with Nikki Chambliss, who's a team leader at Keller Williams, and Quentin Beckham, who's the owner and the managing broker. And we were trying to put in perspective the challenges that first-time home buyers were facing in this market. And I think we were all in agreement that this market, and this year in particular, certainly last year, the first-time home buyer has never had more headwinds.
Oh, 100%.
than ever before.
Yeah.
Your analysis on that and what you're seeing.
I think rising rates are going to slow down the number of people going after each individual property at certain price points, which hopefully will give a little bit of normalcy towards, and when I say normalcy, I mean the ability for them to, the listing agent not to worry about the property appraising if the buyers are asking for closing cost assistance. So if they need to go over to get that money credited back to them, that becoming something that's more willing to happen. It's all about exploring all your options. Like if you've got a lender who can help you with 100% financing, if you're a veteran and you've got a little bit of money so you can pay your own closing cost and we can get you in the home at 100%, we're in a blessed area as far as using USDA as a property, as a product. So talk to your lender, look at all your options, talk to your realtor, say, hey, what if I were looking at properties that maybe have been on the market for 2 weeks or more? Can we go after something? If I'm willing to make a concession in what I want out of the property, do you think we can do something to help get closing costs paid so that I know that I have money for a down payment, but how do we make this work?
How many of the houses you're seeing, the properties you're seeing are not meeting where the offer's checking in higher than appraised value?
I'm actually still seeing appraisals come in over
really
because of what just what the comps are in surrounding areas. Yeah.
So you're not seeing a lot of cash coming to the table.
I don't see it. Well, I mean, I do some 1031 exchanges where I see a lot of cash come to the table on investment purchases, but I don't see
for primary.
Oh, for primary, I don't see that. Most of my buyers are people who aren't putting 20% down. They're putting 5%, 3.5%, 0%, that sort of thing.
So Ross, you told us yesterday or the last week when you were on the show that Ross is out of Detroit.
Correct.
Right? And Virginia's your territory.
Correct.
What are the
Virginia and North Carolina.
Virginia and North Carolina. Okay. So Ross and what it's seeing nationally versus what you are seeing Virginia and Central Virginia.
Very, very similar.
Really?
Yeah, 100%, absolutely. Also, and big shout out to the company. We are the only lender in Kentucky doing 203H, which is a natural disaster home loan for all those who are affected by that terrible tornado that ripped through the state. I've got a great setup for 203K here in Central Virginia. I've got a builder who is already set up Fannie Freddie. I've got a FHA consultant who can take his bid and create it and turn it into what we need. So if you're someone who's looking to get in a distressed property and want to make some changes, and we've got a little bit of time, let's say you're renting and you want to go in and purchase and then take it occupancy in the property, say 6 months later, we've got a plan for that.
How about this question from Leslie? It's a good one. Jerry, ask your guest this question. Does he consider how much we're paying in rent when considering the loan amount he's willing to provide? So I'll offer some background on this. I think this is what she's saying. I'll add some numbers to make the conversation flow a little more. If a current tenant is paying, say, $2,000 a month in rent, and is showing a rental history of making those payments on time for, say, a year or two at $2,000 a month, is that utilized at all when justifying loan amounts?
So that's what that would your total debt to income is still what's going to matter most. The $2,000 can't exceed 55% of your total debt to income, along with your other debts. So if that's $3,500, you probably need to be around $6,200 a month in income. And that's those are loan guidelines that we have to abide by. But what that $2,000 does do is it prevents you from facing payment shock if the mortgage amount is going to be $2,250 and the debt to income allows it.
Are most of the folks, and most is not the right term, how many of the folks are getting loans from you, purchasing homes and seeing a monthly payment that's lower than the rent that they were previously paying?
Most people.
Really?
Well, depending on, Now, if you're somebody who's like splitting an apartment at $500 a month, no. But if you're
A family.
yeah. Well, if you're a family, you're staying in that same range, depending on where you're purchasing as well. If you're renting in Charlottesville and you want to move out towards Fluvanna, there's a very good chance that you can get in at the same or very close number to what you've been paying in rent.
Is the ARM a thing of the past?
I mean, it better be right now because it only adjusts up. Well, I mean, it adjusts down too, but right now it's only going to adjust up.
Are you seeing ARMs? And if so, what are the adjustment periods?
So
5, 7,
1, 3, and 5, and 7. But it depends on what you're doing. Like you'd have to be using it for a very specific, like an investment purchase or something. Nobody's doing a lot of them right now. It's there, but why would you if you know it's only going to adjust up?
So the investment purchase would be you get the ARM, maybe it's a 1 or 3. You're probably not going to go, well, you may probably a 1 or 3, and then you're going to get the rent roll and refi.
Yeah.
Is that the scenario?
Yeah, that's a good plan.
Okay, so that would be the only reason that would make sense, right?
Yeah, like you're talking about the rehab rent?
Yeah. Is that the only scenario?
That's the only scenario. I mean, it wouldn't make sense for a first-time home purchaser to jump into a 3 or 5 year ARM, knowing that in 3 years the rate could be 5%.
Yeah.
I think that'd probably be a poor decision.
A couple points higher than what they're at now.
Correct.
I'm very curious to see, Neil Williamson, welcome to the show. I'm very curious to see of how the market in the first 6 months of this year is going to be different from the next 6 months of the year. You seem to think that it's going to be pretty similar. Am I reading that right?
I mean, I think we went back-to-back years with like 20% growth.
Appreciation, both years combined.
Okay. I'm not talking about housing market. I'm just talking about I'm talking about stock market. Like that's gonna. So if you're talking about housing market, I think this for purchases, this is going to be an amazing year. I really, really do.
Why is that?
Because employment is at a super high overall, where we're at 3.5%, 4% unemployment.
Yeah.
Loans aren't structured to be given, we're not doing no doc, this and that.
3.9%. In December of 2021, 6.3 million Americans unemployed. And unemployment insurance claims in January 1, 2.2 million. Those are really low numbers.
People are working, and then the other thing you're seeing is people are being able to make job transitions for higher pay, which is going to help combat and accelerate the inflation, depending on how you look at it, or at least accelerate is probably a bad term, make it sticky. So if more people are making more money, some of the inflation is going to stick. That's kind of how natural inflation should work. But along with that, you're going to have people who are going to continue to qualify to purchase homes.
Scott Morris, guys, Ross Mortgage, dropping knowledge today. We'll get to some questions that are coming in. This from Twitter. Is he seeing mortgage demand in a certain area that's greater than across the region?
No. From Roanoke, Virginia Beach, Richmond, Reston, everything is about the same. It is there is a high demand for people trying to get into a property.
Where's mortgage demand the highest in Virginia? And where is it the lowest?
In more rural areas, but that's...
So we're talking Southwest Virginia?
Southwest Virginia, Cumberland, far out in Buckingham, places that people here would be familiar with, just because there's less homes out there, but at the same time, that's where you can see a property sit for a little bit longer, and more rural, super high-end properties sit. Like there's something for $2 million sitting somewhere in near where I live that I don't see how. Maybe somebody will buy it, but it's just
So that's gotta have a lot of land.
Yeah, it's 57 acres, no internet. Like, come on, like who you've got to have a lifestyle that's gonna warrant all that. If I'm going anywhere for $500,000, it better have internet.
The follow-up question is, where is it the highest? in Virginia?
Northern Virginia is still like.
Is it gangbusters?
Yeah, it's gangbusters.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So the trend of sprinting away from Nova to areas like Charlottesville is it's subsidizing?
Well, you look at the same thing they said New York was going to be
New York had
a
red hot.
failed state. Like the rentals disappeared, everything, and then all of a sudden everybody just came right back. Like it's red. Yeah, it's because people are always going to be. People got they're tired of the regulations. Tell me how to live my life, and they're going back to their habits. Their habits. They're going back to the things that
full circle,
they
Scott.
make
Well
them
done.
do what they want to do.
Very well done, right there. Soft part of the market.
I think
million plus.
Yeah, I think that will soften faster than anything else because with rising rates, you're going to get less people that qualify or want to spend the type of money that's going to take to get them in there, and you're also going to see. The property that was $850 that made it to $1 million, does it come back down? That I think you see probably the more pullback than anything else. But it depends. It depends on the area too. Like if you're in like the prime neighborhood, that value is probably going to stick. If you're in a neighborhood that was seeing hit some big numbers, you might see some pullback there. But that's total speculation.
I like it. It's good for the talk show. From Lauren here, can you ask the guest about the jumbo market and his thoughts on that?
That's what we're talking. Specifically what we're talking about.
Yeah. So put in perspective the jumbo threshold.
Right now is what, 647, although that may have just gone up. Either way, if I'm wrong, they just increased the loan limits there. Let's call it 647 at the moment. That means
and tell them what that means.
That means the loan limit can't exceed $647,000. So if the purchase price is $700, you don't need to put 20% down. But when you get to $780, you would probably need to put the $150,000.
So you probably have to, when you get to 800 for 20%, that would take it to 640. So you're still below the 647. So yeah. 750 to 800, you're hitting jumbo.
Correct.
Okay, so tell them what that means there.
You have to put the 20% down.
Right.
It's a non-conforming mortgage because the conforming loan limit is the 647.
And are you less bullish on jumbo?
I've got a great product. It's actually 8 different investors who agree to the same guidelines, and so the rates are still good, and you've got a clean underwrite going through it. But as far as bullish, no. I mean, you're going to have people who are going to. I mean, you got a ton of money that's been made in the last 2 years, not just in the real estate industry, crypto, everything else. I don't care if it's crashed down to Bitcoin's 40 instead of $67,000.
And people got to do something with the money.
They got to do. People want to do something with the money. Nobody goes out and who are purchasing at that price point and goes, hey, you know what? Now, certainly there are some people who go, let's be super conservative. Most people want to go spend the money. Most people want to reward themselves for what they feel that they've earned.
Well, I mean, the alternative is keeping it in the bank, which makes no sense with inflation.
Sure.
I mean, you're going to lose money if you just keep it in the bank account. Alternatively, you could put it in the equity markets, and a lot of people are putting them in the equity markets. But I would imagine some folks are buying vacation and second homes. How much of that business are you seeing?
So a lot.
You are seeing a lot of that?
We just got hit with, so second homes are going to cost you a little bit more than they were. It's not significant. If you're somebody who wants to do it, everything's still there, but the government stepped in and they put a little a tax on you buying a second home. So it's more like buying an investment property from the mortgage rate perspective than it was before. Before, buying a second was very similar to buying a primary.
Why don't we? This could be good content. Is the second home piece?
Okay.
Mark this timestamp if you could, J-Dubs. Let's talk those that are intrigued about getting a second house, vacation, beach, something at Wintergreen, something at Massanutten, something in the Outer Banks. Walk us through those steps.
Okay, so second home, you have to put down 10%. That hasn't changed. That hasn't been affected. Let's say you live in Charlottesville and you want to use Wintergreen as the second. We've got to justify it. That means you're going to be living in it for at least 2 weeks a year, and there's some rules around renting it. It really needs to be a second home, not something that you're going to turn into an Airbnb, which I think is part of the reason that they stepped in and said, hey, all of these people buying second homes may not be able to afford them, so they're trying to hedge some future risk as far as if there is some foreclosures on those properties in coming years due to the great amount of demand for them in recent years. Like, are the people who are buying them actually using them for that, or if there's a pullback in demand for the rental market on vacations, are all of a sudden these things going to be given up by the owners?
Do you consider 70% of potential rent for the vacation home?
If it's an investment purchase and not a second home.
Okay. So
if it is an investment purchase that has previous rents that we can show, that's something that, depending on how it's done, you conceivably could do.
Okay, so I'm learning here. How do you make the distinction between second home and investment property if someone is taking like a lot of people do in the Outer Banks, where they go there and they mark the top, 10, 6, 5 weeks they want to stay there with their family, right? And then the remainder of the time, they're going to a company like Tweedy Realty in the Outer Banks. You may have it seriously, and renting it out. So that is not second home?
Well, if they're going to be in there for, those 30 days a year, then that is absolutely a second home.
Wow.
But you can't count any of the rental income towards qualifying mortgage income.
Okay. But if you said that it was not,
and you're putting 20% down, it's set up, and you've got previous rents that you can show to make it work, you can conceivably, you could use some of that to make that work. In most cases, the answer is going to be no. You're still going to need, because most of these companies aren't set up in a way to always show you what you need to use that money for qualifying income. It's not like they're long-term rents.
What does that mean?
Like a lease, like a permanent lease in place.
Okay, I got that.
So like if you bought a house with a tenant in it, you can count 75% of that income towards the future.
Well, okay. So now, dude, I'm very much learning here. So if you have, and tell me if you don't want to go down this road. I'm learning from you here.
I want to stay away from it a little bit.
Okay, you want to stay away from this?
I think some of it's. I don't want to like. So people are apt to take things that could be gray and then be like, well, hey, I know
this is fact. Yeah. Okay, that makes possible sense. All right, follow-up question. One question for me. One question. If you have one and there is the tenant in place, it is much easier for someone to get a loan to buy that one with the tenant in place than without the tenant in place?
Yes.
Okay. Like considerably?
Yes, because then you're qualifying. There's already income that's going to be paid to you that you're going to be receiving, versus let's say I'm going to rehab it first, and you could go through months without receiving any income on the property at all.
Linda McDaniel has this question. Fascinating discussion. How much of his business is this type of product?
10% or less.
Yeah. I also find it fascinating. Rebecca Hill, welcome to the broadcast. She's watching. I'll throw this to you here. Are you looking at the Charlottesville and Central Virginia area as the primary aspect of your book of business here, or anyone across the Commonwealth or North Carolina can reach out to you to do some business?
Anyone across the Commonwealth or North Carolina. In fact, I had somebody just call from a friend in North Carolina that we're getting under contract next week. So,
how'd you pick that up?
Referral? Just a referral. Friend of a friend.
You get a ton of referrals, don't you?
Yes, the majority of my business is referral based.
Gosh, the man does it well, guys. He does it well. More questions, keep them coming in. We'll get to Dude, we got questions on the Northern Virginia market here. Why does he see the Northern Virginia market as staying so hot?
There's more people there.
Yeah, that's where the jobs are, right?
Yeah.
That's where the jobs. Government contracting, that's where the jobs are. How many folks are you seeing taking out, cashing out Northern Virginia and coming down here?
I think we saw a lot of it the last 2 years. As far as what we see in the future, it depends on what the inventory, and you see a lot of retirement age moving from Northern Virginia here, or the work from home environment. As long as that continues, I think that creates a big picture as well.
Keith has this comment: real estate is the best hedge against inflation. Your thoughts on that? I said most of the time in the feed.
Yeah. I would say that's pretty accurate.
Yeah. What else you'd say would be a good hedge for you? I'm not going to say. I think gold is no longer the case.
Is possibly, but from a long-term picture, it might still hold up.
You think? You really do?
Yeah, I really think because other governments are going to continue to buy it. It's not like there's still projections that Bitcoin's going to $100,000.
You buy that?
I mean, so I think a lot of what drove it was all of this money that was pumped into the system and it being the cool new thing. So there was just a mass a lemming migration into it, which drove it up. I don't know. Only time can tell. The crypto market certainly has proven itself that it's here in some aspect. Whether the government steps in and changes things at some time and creates its own, the dollar coin, and the dollar coin becomes the new standard, who knows?
You got colleagues, competitors asking you questions here.
Okay.
And they're good questions. So this is from Michael Buchensky of First Heritage. Good dude here. Scott would know this, obviously, but also good to note that it depends on the mortgage product you are using. For example, FHA allows you to use rental income for a 2 to 4 unit property, and you can use the projected rental for each unit.
Correct. Especially if you're going to be an owner-occupant of one of the units.
This question: with the Great Resignation going on, please discuss what impact will it have on the buyers and sellers. In other words, if you resign and start a new job, how long do you need to wait till you can apply for a new purchase? Any advice? That's a good question.
Immediately. If you've got a 2-year work history and you're just transitioning from one position to another position, tell everyone in the transaction on your team about it. Don't just go do it without, mentioning it to anyone, because we're going to have to do verifications of employment.
You're going to see that.
Yeah, it's going to come up. But at the same time, if everybody knows about it, don't be scared to do it. Now, the difference with that being, do not move from a W-2 position into a 1099 position, or where the bulk of your income is going to be coming from commissions if you were previously salary. That would be a big, big problem. But if you're just talking about moving from the same type of pay in the same field, go do what's best for you and your family.
Do you, more comments coming in over here. Do you have fears at all with the so-called quote unquote Great Resignation that's happening? What are your thoughts on that? 400,000 people quit in November.
So I think the Great Resignation is kind of what I referenced earlier in the show, with people being able to transition from one job to another for greater income. As long as you're not constantly bouncing around and you're showing consistent and reliable employment, then you should be able to make those moves, which is what I was referencing when I said greater incomes create stickier inflation, because everybody's getting paid more. Everything's going to be costing a little bit more down the road.
Good stuff from Scott Morris. Dude, you have 3 folks from 3 different firms watching you on the show right now. This question's coming in. This one's a little convoluted. Let me see if I can make some clarity on this one. How high does he see rates going up in 2022, and does he expect rates to continue higher than that in 2023? We're on the cusp of signing a rental lease renewal, but we want to purchase a home soon, but we're at that transition period where the lease is coming up and we're not quite ready to go?
So, like I said, I believe rates, I don't know how high they're going to go, but I think they're going to go higher than whatever the projections are. Inflation happened faster. I think mortgage rates are going to go up higher. But at some point, we're going to get through the turbulence and there's going to be some normalcy. So I think they continue to go up forever? No. Kind of like, all inflation is transitory if the timeline's long enough. Same thing with the rates if they go up, they'll come back down. They may not come back down as low as they were, but the market will find its feet at some point.
I think we should emphasize that we're not talking about rates from like the late 80s here.
No, we're talking
right?
we're talking about do things potentially get to 5%? I don't know, maybe. But at the same time, there's no, if they did and it took a year to do it and the investment and bond purchasers had gotten through what they thought the market likes stability. They like normalcy. So once those things happen, then once they get to a peak, you'll see, different mechanics kind of tapering things back down. So
we're looking at the charts here in the studio. Both Scott and I are looking at the charts. 173 in the 10-year. Haven't seen that since what? April of this past year?
Yeah, easily. That's a peak. And then I don't see Fannie Freddie up there, so there's no telling me exactly what things are doing. But also, we talked in the beginning about tech being impacted. NASDAQ up, S&P today.
Today. Yeah, it's up today. The banks seem to be faring well. That makes sense with the rates going up.
Absolutely, because that's where they make the money. Credit card purchases, and that's the whole thing with the prime going up. That's going to be beneficial to the banks. But we're seeing. What
did you just look up right there?
Fannie Mae stock, seeing a little spike today. So Fannie Freddie up, 10-year down, typically good for mortgage rates.
Keep the questions coming, guys. Christine Day is giving you some props right now. Give us the process again for those that are watching now that are looking to purchase a home with you.
So first thing, get in touch with your lender, me or whomever your trusted advisor is, and if they don't pick up the phone, call me anyways. From there, we're going to have you complete an application. We're going to take a look at your finances. You're going to send us W-2s, pay stubs, bank statements. We're going to get an idea of what the maximum number we can approve you for. We're going to find out the maximum number that you're comfortable paying. We're going to get in touch with your real estate agent. We're going to send them and you a pre-approval letter that is essentially your ticket to go shopping, and your agent's going to build your search around that letter, and from there we're going to go out and put you in a home.
Can you guys, this question is coming in from Laura, can you guys talk about financing for townhomes and attached properties?
Yeah, so no difference than any other conventional or type of mortgage purchase. It's just an attached property versus single-family standalone. You would go through all the same things. Now, we probably want to be careful if it's registered as a condo and what those condo fees are versus your HOA fees that you're going to have in a townhome and how that's going to affect what you qualify for.
Do you do a lot of condos?
There's not a lot of condos in the Charlottesville area. I do some in Northern Virginia and Fredericksburg and Richmond.
Townhomes?
Townhomes or condos?
Well, both. Do you do a lot of townhomes?
I do a lot of townhomes.
You do?
Yeah.
So Keith just shared the Freddie Mac 30-year. Freddie Mac historical mortgage rates he just shared. Thank you for sharing that, Keith, and I hope you are recharging on your birthday, my friend, and enjoying that with your wonderful better half, Yona Smith. If you have more questions, put them in the feed. We'll get to a couple more of these, including these that just came in on Twitter. Jerry, ask Scott about, so you get this question constantly. We kind of cover this, guys. I don't want to bombard this guy with the same question. If he thinks that rates are going to be considerably higher in 2023 versus now, I mean, you get this all the time, right?
Yeah, I mean, all right, we talked about this last week. In fact, we talked about this on Wednesday of last week. Hey, the U.S. 10-year, they said would be at 2+%, and look, we're still 1.5. And then in the course of 4 business days, we shot up to, we went above 1.8 at one point. Now we're back down to 1.7 something.
Looks like 173.
Yeah. So my take is, with inflation and with everything that's happening, interest rates are going to go up to whatever they go up to, and then they're going to stabilize. And then once the market finds some normalcy, they might trickle back down.
The theme of today's show was habits and consistency. How about the habits you want to see from clients and customers that come across your desk?
Be conservative in all things, meaning that if your goal is to purchase a home, then each month, and you know that you need to hit $9,000 for a down payment and you have 5, if you can be disciplined to put away that extra $200 a month so that you can get there faster, be consistent in doing those things. And if something comes up, call your circle, call your advisors and say, hey, how can I take care of this thing in my life that's going to best prepare me for purchasing a home in 6 months?
Kelsey often comments on the show, and she's done it again. Does he do debt consolidations?
Absolutely. And that was so the call this morning where I was talking to someone about taking a cash out refinance at a higher rate than where they currently are. Using that money would create a better cash flow for them per month. Even though they're taking a higher interest rate on their mortgage, they're going to pay off some high interest credit cards and save themselves almost $1,000 a month.
Dude, knowledge right here. Scott Morris, Ross Mortgage. All right, let's put the finance aside here and let's talk everyday life here. Family and your kids and your wife's business are doing well. Your business, record-setting last year.
Record-setting last year.
Grateful and gratitude for the Morris family. How about that in perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. When you look at your day-to-day, like I said I was going to take off the week between Christmas and New Year's, but I didn't. I just, but it's about finding some time. And I try to cook dinner for my kids every night. There's certain things.
Scott's a chef?
I mean, a cook. Just because you cook, I'm a blue box craft macaroni and cheese chef.
Okay.
I'm not the people who are at the Taste Shack on 29 making some of the best food in Charlottesville.
You love taste. Is it good?
It's the people that originally opened the Carver.
Oh yeah, Justin.
Yeah.
And Candace.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Okay. I'm gonna text my wife.
Bro, you got BLTs and deviled eggs on the menu. I'm there.
Okay.
But yeah, no, it's about spending that time. I mean, even though when you're cooking for 3.5-year-olds, it doesn't matter what you're cooking; they're not going to eat it by the time you put it on a plate. But I spend the time. It's like playing golf. I like to do it for the frustration.
You scratch golfer?
Yeah, by scratch all over the card. Yeah.
I bet you're shooting in the upper 80s and 90s, aren't you?
Yeah, I can lower 90s when I'm playing consistently.
Where are you playing golf?
Culpeper.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if somebody wants to go somewhere, I'm down for that as well. So.
He's a good man, guys. Scott, she says we needed. I said Taste Shack, and she goes, "I'm watching. We got to try this. We got to try it." Sweetheart, if Scott is saying this, we got to get there. Any final closing thoughts for the viewers?
So
you did well today.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Speaking of gratitude, that's the biggest thing. Beginning of the year, we got through all the snow apocalypse. Let's be grateful for what we have, our families, our friends around us. Create good habits, be consistent about them, and then be blessed with the outcomes.
Well said. Tomorrow, give us a snapshot of what you're planning.
Tomorrow, I'm going to be bringing Brandy Smythe with Piedmont Fine Properties. We're going to do we're going to do the whole show, first-time buyers, do's and don'ts, and how to best be prepared, things that can happen inside of a transaction. That I think we get a lot of questions on that, and I think Randy is a super likable guy who deals with a lot of first-time home buyers and can give an insight into keeping the flow and making everybody happy.
Keith says, thank you for covering for me, Scott. Christopher Eagle says, Taste Shack is legit. I've been there so many times. Multiple comments on Taste Shack. Tomorrow at 10:15, join us on Real Talk on a Wednesday. I will be back myself in an hour and 15 minutes on the I Love Seville show with some finance with Alex of the Emergent Financial Services team, the CEO. And we're also going to talk some news coming out of Charlottesville with City Council in a closed session. Scott Morris, bravo.
Bravo. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you, Jerry.
Thank you. Judah Wickhauer is our director. We'd be lost without him, and we will continue to watch in the studio what Jay Powell is doing. Now we got Senator Mark Warner chatting with him. I'm Jerry Miller. This is Real Talk. We will see you in an hour and change with the I Love Seville show. Take care.